Namandabs, 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 namandabs. Well, there are many of you here now. Thank you for weathering the cold temperatures this morning. Glad to see you all here today, and glad to see those of you who are viewing us online today. Last week, I took a little road trip with my sister to Eastern Washington. That's about a 2-hour drive from here. And we visited our brother, Nissan. The trip was a rather last-minute decision, and after viewing Reverend Kusunoki's Dharma talk from last week, I think my sudden decision to be absent didn't help smooth his bumpy week that he had last week. But I'm glad to see that everything seems to have turned out okay. Before I begin my talk, it is with sadness that I ask for a few moments of silence for yet again, for the mass killings that happened last week. May the victims rest in peace and their loved ones remember joy in their lives. Mokto. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namandabs, Namandabs, Namandabs. Thank you. Please join me in Gassho and listen to the words from the larger sutra. When I attain Buddhahood, the sentient beings throughout the countless and inconceivable Buddha worlds in the 10 quarters, having received my light and having been touched by it, they will become soft and gentle in body and mind, surpassing humans and devas in those qualities. Should it not be so, may I not attain the perfect enlightenment. Namo Amida Butsu, Namandabats, Namandabats, Namandabats. Before I decided to take the drive to Eastern Washington, I of course checked the past conditions, and they looked pretty good. Since my brother Nissan said a little bit of food would be nice, I bought us some sushi, fueled up the car, and picked up my sister, and off we went to my brother's house. The road was not bumpy at all, it was clear. The trip wasn't exactly meant to be a goodwill visit and eating sushi together. One of our goals was to persuade Nissan to give up driving. At least to give up driving on the highways. Pursuing that goal turned out to be a Dharma lesson for me. And the opening passage was the 33rd vow. It helps me with that lesson. Nissan is in his 90s. Presently, he is in good health in body and mind. In fact, he's downright stubborn, as we came to understand. I'm sure many of you have encountered this situation in your family, or perhaps you are wrestling with the idea for yourself. In my cursory investigation about elder driving, research shows that it is a complicated issue. Possible solutions to evaluate competency would not be fair to everyone and would be very expensive. As we get older, our reflexes and judgment are not what they used to be. But Nissan passed his vision test, and his driver's license is good until next year. He's forgetful, so am I, but his mind is very good. When we argued reasons why he should give up driving, he argued back with equally good reasons why he should not. Teenagers on the road are more dangerous than seniors are on the road. Actually, research says teenagers and seniors are equally risky drivers. There just are more teenagers on the road right now, and seniors self-regulate. We choose safe times to drive, and we simply drive less. The teenage to senior demography is also changing. It's a complicated issue. One study says that in 2025, 25% of us on the road will be over 65 years of age. Luckily, Nissan has a friend in town who has offered to drive him to his weekly or bi-weekly doctor's appointments. The friend is about 20 years younger and is highly recommended as sincere. Actually, I don't know how his driving is. Maybe he's 20 years younger than Nissan, but does that mean he is more reliable? It's hard to say. He would also be considered older since he is over 65. But Nissan won't accept the offer to drive him to the doctor's appointments. Nissan doesn't want to wait for someone to pick him up and for someone to wait around for him. My sister and I eventually gave up trying to convince Nissan to accept his friend's offer. However, the night before we left to come home, Nissan let us read a letter from his stepdaughter that made an impact on all of us. The stepdaughter had barely kept in touch with Nissan over the last 20 years. It was a Christmas letter that expressed very dearly how much she appreciated all that Nissan had done for her and her children in raising and nurturing them all. Apparently, he gave them travel opportunities, and in showing by his actions and examples a great deal of generosity and kindness. The grandchildren have grown up to be upstanding young adults in their schools and communities, and she wrote in this Christmas letter how much she appreciated him. She appreciated Nissan for those gifts. It brought tears to my eyes reading the letter. I asked Nissan if the letter made him feel good. He said it did, but that he didn't remember the travels she talked about. I said, "See, you gave, and now it's time you receive. Try to accept what your friends want to give. That's how kindness spreads, from one person giving to another who accepts and receives, and that kindness sets an example for others to follow." I asked him to just think about this. Think about receiving. What I learned when we tried to persuade Nissan to give up driving is that I was trying to control his actions as much as he was trying to keep control of what pleasures he has left. He has his friends, his routine, someone who comes in regularly to clean and to visit, someone to deliver meals on wheels. That Christmas letter of appreciation for Nissan, I hope, will be the light of Amida Buddha that allows Nissan to become soft and gentle in mind and body. By allowing others to help him, he is allowing them to experience the joy that giving brings. Even others will observe the joy and benefit from that giving and see how the joy spreads on and on, from giver to receiver, to giver, and so on. That Christmas letter was one benefit from Amida that I was allowed to perceive. I realize now that there must be countless other benefits that I am unable to see. The Dharma lesson I am learning and still absorbing is from this experience with Nissan and the letter that he received. I am learning that I need to let go of my self-calculated efforts. I need to let go of relying on my own ability, my hakarai, in trying to change Nissan's mind. I should be at peace with whoever Amida's light touches and when it is received. This is how I interpret Amida's 33rd vow. Becoming soft and gentle in body and mind means becoming pliable, thoughtful, not so stubborn and egocentric. So I am at peace with allowing Nissan to decide for himself whether to drive or not. At this time, anyway. We may have to do this trip again in the not so distant future. It was a good trip, a good visit with Nissan, albeit a little bumpy, but life is complicated. Life goes on, and we have much to give and much to receive. Please join me in Gasho to hear Dhammakara's 33rd vow as stated in the larger sutra. When I attain Buddhahood, the sentient beings throughout the countless and inconceivable Buddha worlds in the 10 quarters, having received my light and having been touched by it, will become soft and gentle in body and mind, surpassing humans and devas in those qualities. Should it not be so, may I not attain the perfect enlightenment. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namandabats, 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 Namandabats. Thank you for listening and thank you for coming.